What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, people? What's up with you? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? It is a Sunday. It is a Sunday. And y'all know what we usually do on Sunday nights. We come in and we have our good friend, Mr. Dexter Taylor, on the other end with Carl on the backside of this thing. And we chop it up. We rip it up with Dexter on Sundays. This is what we do. We're a little earlier than usual, yeah. Everybody's sitting there going, but that's cool. So, but while I'm talking to him, I'm just going to let you know straight up, because I literally had put my plate together. My phone was in the other room. Dexter was calling, and so I've got a plate of meatloaf and noodles and salad that I'm going to be eating during this here thing. What's going on, Dexter? What's going on, my friend? How we doing, man?
Everything's everything. You know, we're just we just got to gut out this latest stage of things. As far as inside here is concerned, all the programs and most of the jobs are still on hold. And so as a practical matter, this means not much mobility, which is a problem. But it's what it is. It's just like we're just gonna cut it out. In terms of the larger scene outside, I'm cautiously optimistic based on what I've seen under the last couple of weeks. The Department of Justice seems to be moving with all speed to address some of these civil rights violations we've been talking about. Just the fact that we have an executive that sees the Second Amendment as protecting a civil right is huge, I think. So that's good. And it looks like the administrative state seems to have gotten a few knockbacks in the last week or so, which is also good. So we'll see what happens. And of course, everyone's holding their breath about what the economy is going to do, and what the tariffs are going to do, and all that business. But in terms of whether things are moving toward more liberty or less, I'm cautiously optimistic that they're moving toward more. We'll see. And yeah, that's my take so far. You guys are getting a lot more news than I am. I've got the AP News Wire and the Reuters News Wire, and that's more or less it. So you guys are getting a much bigger picture than I am.
Well, it's crazy out here. So I'm just letting you know right now. I'm sitting there going, dude, I'm gonna go hang out with I'm gonna go hang out with you. Just move over. Move over. Just give me give me my number. I'm coming in there with you.
Nah. Let me tell you something. You don't want to be in here, bro. As crazy as it is out there, you don't want to be in here. I'll take out there any day.
Now, out here, you get hit by the shrapnel. You get hit by the shrapnel of all the craziness that's going on, bro. You get hit by the.
I do have I think it's a shrapnel. That ain't nothing. I got to boost my iron intake anyway.
Right?
Come on.
I almost feel like, man, we're behind. Why is my chair not comfortable tonight? I don't know what's going on with this thing. Let me get comfortable here, man. Let me.
Yeah, get that low position right.
Yeah, man. But
the meatloaf in the right situation there.
So the tariffs.
Yeah.
So I know I'm sure you probably heard the tariff is about to ready to come down. I have lost, and I'll show anybody who wants to see my timeline on my 401k. I have no problem in showing you. I have lost $10,338 out of my 401k so far.
Yeah.
And you know, you listen to the mega crowd.
You have 1 minute left.
They tell you that things are gonna be. Wait a minute, we just got on. Oh, I'm sorry, you was talking to Carl. Okay,
yeah.
All right. You want to go do that, and then we'll get you on the backside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on back. I'm back. All right. Yeah.
Sounds like a deal. We'll see you.
The caller has hung up.
Anyway, how's it going, people? How we doing today? Like always, you know, we tune in with Dexter on a Sunday here. Dexter called a little earlier than I thought he was going to call, but we're all good. We'll get it going. I got a plate sitting behind me, and I'm starving. So when I'm talking to Dexter, and I know people sit there and going, "Is he eating?" Yes, I will be eating. I'm like that. My wife made her meatloaf tonight, so meatloaf, noodles, salad, all that there type of stuff. So yes, I'm more than likely at some point here during this conversation, I will be stuffing my face. So I'm just gonna let you know straight up, I'm like that. But anyway, on Sundays, what we try to do is give Dexter an opportunity to come on and talk a little bit. So we can keep him sane. We want to know how he's doing, what's going on with him. For those who are new to what we do here, we got Carl. You see Carl will be putting out a bunch of stuff. You are a smart ass, Carl. Will be putting it. No, I'm not calling him a smart ass. That's his name for those who don't know. We'll be putting things out on the back channel for anyone who don't know Dexter's story. Carl usually puts that out. Also, the hat, I'm going to go ahead and push the merch already early tonight. This is the red hat. Usually I have the black hat on. I stand with Dexter Taylor. This money helps him in his legal fight. We're trying to get him a second trial so we can get him out of there. For those who don't know, this is a man who put together a firearm, and in New York, you don't even have to shoot the firearm. You don't have to do anything. You just put it together. They come knock your door down and take you into custody and tell you that you can't. Huh?
Because he falls asleep so fast.
No, it was my wife talking to me. Sorry.
Oh.
Definitely that.
No problem. Well, tell the wifey we said hi, man.
I will.
Yeah. That's Carl. Carl's a new daddy, so we're very proud of that young man, and the wife too. So I definitely can't. She did all the work. He just showed up.
All the work.
He just showed up. That's what we do. But we got Dexter back on the line. Hey, so right before you got off, we was talking about the tariffs and things of that sort. So right now people are losing money. People are losing people are losing money like you wouldn't believe. And a lot of people are upset over what he's doing right now. With the promise that, you know, things are going to get bad, but they're going to get better. I don't see that. I don't see that really happening in 4 years. Like always, they come in and they do things, and then the next president comes in, and then they go, well, that's because it's something that I did, you know, after everything starts rising up here. But we are going to see if things are going to get better with all these tariffs that he's putting on all these countries and things.
But here's what I would say to that. I mean, the tariffs are really never an end in themselves, right? I'm not quite as, it's good to be skeptical. I'm not quite as skeptical as you are, only because I think it's pretty clear to me that, again, the administration is not seeing tariffs as an end in themselves. This is an opening move to some series of negotiations so that we can get something, right? Maybe we want lower tariff rates. Maybe, because remember that a lot of these countries that are complaining were applying tariffs to our goods when those goods got to their markets, right? So it's not as if necessarily that in all these cases we took a country where we had a zero tariff relationship and Trump imposed tariffs all of a sudden. It's not that simple. So listen, if the Eurozone, for example, the EU countries already had some kind of, let's say, a 20%, 30% tariff on American goods, and at the same time, those EU countries, by the way, are insisting that, whenever there's a crisis, whenever there's a security concern, the United States be the one to show up and put troops on the ground and put a shoulder to the door, what have you. Well, something's got to give. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, again, all of these nations want to trade with as many people as possible on the best terms possible. So again, the tariffs are not an end in itself. Tariffs are not good, except to the extent they can garner better deals for us on international markets. Now, will they? I don't know. That's separate. Will they? Don't know. But that seems to be the idea. And I haven't seen anything that tells me that we won't get a good deal out of these negotiations. We should be able to get good deals out of these. There's no reason why we shouldn't. None of these countries that we've tariffed, with a couple of exceptions, are seen as enemies per se. So I don't see what the problem is. Provided that you've got decent, you've got competent people actually running the negotiations for you, and we'll see what comes of that. But of course, in the meantime, as you point out, things are not going to look so good, especially, by the way, for investment portfolios, because so much of the activity on Wall Street is speculative activity, but high order speculation. Bets about bets about bets. Okay, so if you hear that the price of X is going to go up, maybe right, then you can expect Wall Street to kind of have this big reaction, and in turn, if your 401k is linked to some index fund or some basket of stocks and whatever, then you would expect you're going to lose money in your 401k as Wall Street takes a dip. Wall Street goes back up. If you recover those lost points at some point, then your portfolio, your 401k should recover that value. Now, will that happen? I don't know. But like I said, tariffs are not. It's not like it's just tariffs are the new normal. It seems to me that there's some kind of impulse behind this. At least in some of the cases, I'm not sure about Canada. I'm not sure why there were tariffs on Canada. China, I kind of understand. Mexico, I definitely understand. Canada, not so much, but
Well, Canada is one of those countries that's basically saying you can kiss my butt.
Well, I mean, they're going to say that in public. But as a matter of fact, they're going to negotiate. I mean, they just are. Because here's the thing: you got to remember that. So, for example, Canada has a parliamentary government, which means that their head of government is even, or the head of state, or what have you, is even more is in a more unstable position than our head of government. Our president is president for 4 years. If during the Canadian Prime Minister's term things get bad enough, right, he could face a vote of no confidence in his own parliament and have to form a new government. You see what I'm saying? So he has a greater incentive to negotiate to figure out how to get rid of these tariffs. So certainly in public, they're going to say, oh, kiss my ass, blah, 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 blah. Same as the EU countries, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But in private, I guarantee that someone is going to sit down, even now someone is sitting down and figuring out how to make a deal, because no one, if they're like that, someone pointed out, trade wars are bad for everybody. They're not only bad for the U.S., not only bad for Canada, bad for everyone. So everyone has an interest in trying to figure this stuff out. Everybody. Canada does, Mexico does, Germany does, France does, everybody does. So we'll see. It's going to come down to how good our negotiators are, and what kind of deal. Is it a doable deal in the first place? What are we actually asking? I mean, the big problem with this, some of it is a mystery. Like, we know that there's a big problem because the U.S. government has a hard-on for China, and not in a loving way, because of fentanyl and this and that and intellectual property and so on and so forth. Okay. We know that, like, the U.S. government has a thing for Mexico because Mexico seems to, like, not really police its southern border, but just wave people through past our southern border. Okay, that's the problem. I'm not sure what the deal is with Canada. I'm not sure what the deal is with them. But whatever it is, it is simply in their interest to negotiate. Whether or not they like Trump, hate Trump, that's irrelevant. They have they have a public too that's looking to them. They have people that are measuring their performance. And at the end of the day, if unemployment is high in Canada and people can't afford to buy bread in Canada, then people are going to blame the government in Canada. Voters are not going to say, oh, well, it's that Donald Trump that made it so that I can't buy bread in Canada. They're going to blame the government. So the government has an interest in making this thing go away. Will they? Again, don't know. But
yeah,
that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, they're pretty much are on that hate America. See, I mean, when they start booing us at the hockey games, I knew we was in some type of trouble. Going, these people are not. These people are not. These people.
It's a hockey. It's a hockey game.
No,
I can like a hockey game is some kind of paragon of decorum and shit. This is a hockey game.
No,
I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
I can see if it was the Philadelphia if it was the Philadelphia crowd. I can understand that because Philly is that group of people. They different. Them Philadelphia people, they're totally. I can see if there was a crowd, but I was always told that the people in Canada are nice people, man.
That's a damn lie. That's a damn lie. Canadians are some savages too, please. Especially when it comes to hockey. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Canada. That's why Canada gets away with a lot of shit. It's Canadians. That's just so for the hockey game, you see, shit, and Canadian hockey players know how to fight just as good as everybody else. Why do you think that is?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
you got a point. But they always can't come out to be like Minnesota, because here we got what they call Minnesota nice, which is a lie. But they like to say it to make themselves feel good. But they ain't no Minnesota.
Yeah,
everybody, Minnesota.
Everybody does it. Look here, Rev. I got a lot of friends in the UK, right? Same thing. Everyone's like, oh, the British, they're so genteel and so polite and so. Listen, I've actually watched Prime Minister's Questions. I've actually sat and watched that on YouTube. Okay, and it's like you lie to me about like British gentility. Listen. Prime Minister says something they don't like. They're like, boo! Get your ass down, boo! Okay? So, yeah, all that goes out the window. Yeah, Canada nice.
Well,
I'm just glad they got rid of that sissy, what's his name? Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau.
He was horrible. Yeah, he was horrible. I mean... the new guy, I'm not sure the new guy is much better, but I'm tired of looking at Justin Trudeau's face, bro. Like, get this sissy out of here, please.
Right.
Yeah.
But we,
I think that the Canadians have to. They're in a position where they want it. They want to get better. They want to negotiate. They want to make this problem good. This is a problem for them. And and here's the thing. I think Trump is betting. Seriously, now I think Trump is betting that because our economy is very big and very diverse, right? that even though everyone's hurting, we can stand the pain for longer. It's kind of a game of economic chicken. I'm not sure he's wrong.
Yeah, but that economic
that's separate.
That
Tell me.
What was that? That economic chicken. I'm sitting here going, I would have liked to take that 10 grand and go. If I'm going to lose money like that, go to the casino. You know,
but you know, no, that's a fair point. But here's the thing: but be real about it. You wasn't necessarily going to pull 10 grand out of your 401k.
Why
next
not?
week or next month.
Well,
no, I'm
saying,
you know. Yeah, I mean, no, come on. It's like, come on. You know, in other words, so what would you say if Wall Street rebounds higher than it was before, which by the way it seems to always do, right? And then it adds on 5K to the value. You recover the whole 10K and it adds 5K on. That's the gamble. That's the gamble.
Or
I don't know.
What if I was at the blackjack table and I got on a hot roll and I'm up 20,000.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you got a system. Yeah, because you got a system, bro.
Right.
Like everybody else who goes to the casino, you got a system for winning. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You know, you never know. Hey, because you know they got those. They got the back rooms for the clergies. You know, you don't see. You don't see clergies out at the back rooms. They got the back rooms for people. Yeah. That's something people don't know about. People don't know.
Yeah, they got the back rooms for clergy.
Yeah, we don't go gamble on the normal floor. We go in the back rooms and gamble.
Yeah, but the odds is the same. They still don't build. You know, that's a visibility thing. That's like we know y'all want to do your thing in private, but they don't build casinos with winners' money. So that's what I'd say to that. But yeah, I think that's the thing. You know, it is a gamble, right? But as I was saying to Carl before, the other thing is that look, you know, people are making a lot of noise because everything that happens in the political cycle generates a lot of noise. But let's keep something in mind. Trump was inaugurated in January. Okay, it's April. Now the man is serving a 4-year term. Does anyone think that the economy that Wall Street is not going to have any kind of recovery between now and what was that 2028, 2029? Come on now, stop it.
I'm sure it's gonna. I'm sure it's gonna rebound. It's gonna bounce like it always does.
And probably add value as well. Again, you know, you're barring some.
I'm gonna bookmark. I'm gonna bookmark that. I'm gonna bookmark that and make sure that, you know, in 3 years from now, when you out and I get a chance to fly up and see you, I'm gonna remind you of what you just said.
Hey, let's hope it's soon in 3 years, Reverend. God damn. You're talking about 3 years. Shit, I'm trying to be out by Christmas.
That too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is Wall Street, and again, you know, Wall Street always does this. You know, sometimes Wall Street takes big dives for no reason. Because so much of the activity on Wall Street is highly speculative and who the hell knows. So, you know, there may be a big sell off one day and a rally the next day. Well, okay, so this is a big dive. Yeah, true, but you know, what was the second biggest dive? You know, did that happen? For what reason, right? So again, I'm not saying that we should think everything Trump is doing is good or a good idea or prudent or wise. I'm just saying, you know, in general, we know that, you know, again, tariffs, you know, presidents don't impose tariffs just because. It's usually because they want something. So is it a chance that he'll get what he wants and then they'll negotiate some of this stuff away? I think there's a better than average chance that they're going to negotiate these tariffs away because it's in everyone's interest to negotiate these tariffs away. So that's it. Now, in the news cycle, everyone's going to be like it's the end of the world. But again, he was inaugurated in January. It's April. So, you know, it's too soon to tell is what I always say. It's just too soon to tell. And in the meantime, yeah, you know, prices are going to go up and it's going to be more expensive to buy stuff at the supermarket. Listen, I don't know what to say to that. It's like, it wasn't my tariff plan. It's the executive tariff plan. Take it up with him. I'm just saying, it is possible that we'll see the other side of this crisis relatively soon. And also, of course, if there's any time to do something like this, to make a risky move like this, it's up front. Because you do this at the back end of your presidency when you're almost out, and it's like, well, if it goes sour, then that's your whole legacy is tainted. You do something like this now, and chances are the American economy is going to recover just fine. It's a very big economy. It's very diverse. We've kind of marginalized the environmentalists. Thank God, and we're back to understanding that we need cheap energy. If energy really gets cheaper, everything gets better. So I would say, we have no choice but to give it time anyway. So you might as well give it time.
True. I was going to ask Carl, Stand Still, the Stand Still podcast. I was going to ask Carl if he got in touch.
I've been testing them. I'm bringing him on the next break, but I was letting y'all cook right now. I can bring them in now if you guys want me to call them.
Yeah, if you want to, that's cool. I know he called me earlier today. It was asking about coming and hanging out with us and everything. So
no, that's cool. I just saw his text maybe 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Let me give him a call right now. You guys continue to talk. I'll bring him on. Yeah.
Okay, sounds like a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how this whole thing works out and see where we go from here. Because he said gas was supposed to be going down. It's it just went up to $3.19 a couple of days ago, and I'm sitting here going, wait a second, yeah, because we got to get that up under $2 and something. $3.19 and the wife driving as far as she has to drive, man. That puts a penny. So
okay. We got to stand on the line.
Yeah.
Hey, how's everybody?
Everything's lovely, bro. How are you?
I'm good, thank God. I'm good. I'm doing okay.
Hey, Stan, what's going on with you, bro?
Lieutenant Governor, how's everything?
You know what? Everything is good right now. Everything is good.
All right.
Everything is good right now. Went to a rally on yesterday.
What kind of rally? What kind?
I didn't not them boneheads they were out there, doing all them, Well, no, I stopped by that rally too, but I went to a rally yesterday, and I didn't know about this until I was put on to this. That how the a president or whomever else has been not using the Constitution and our troops the way they're supposed to. I went to a rally yesterday. It was called it's a Defend rally, and what they're asking for a bill to have the Constitution used the way it's supposed to be used before they send our troops off to war, before they send our vets off and things of that sort. So
what were they doing that's unconstitutional?
Well, they're supposed to go to they're supposed to ask if they can send these troops in, or they're supposed to.
Well, more than that, the president can't declare war. That's the problem.
That's right.
The president can't declare war. The problem is that not just Trump, by the way. Every U.S. president, at least since the 1980s, maybe before, has engaged in these activities that look and sound like war, but are supposedly not really war. And so we end up getting involved in this thing that looks, acts, and smells like a war without Congress ever having said anything, without Congress ever having declared war.
That's
that
right.
is a problem. Because why? It's like if you're going to send troops someplace, well, why are we sending troops if we're not at war? Well, we're advising. Well, the technical help. Well, it's da-da-da. Okay, but then they become a target. Then we have to shoot back. Now we're at war, but Congress never authorized war. So I think the point is
they doing the loophole thing.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like a loophole, but I don't. The problem is I don't see that a bill is the answer. Because look, we already have law. I mean, the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, says that only Congress gets to declare war. Right. The problem is that the people who we've sent to Congress refuse to hold presidents accountable when they deploy troops somewhere for some half-assed reason.
Well, right now
that's the problem.
Right, but right now it's called right now the only thing that the only way we can get this back on track would be a bill, right? If you think about it, because but Congress is not doing their job.
Okay, so if Congress is not doing their job, why would they sign a bill saying that they're not doing their job? You know what I'm saying?
You got a point on that one.
Right. Basically, Congress is supposed to declare war. Okay, the new bill says, listen, guys, you should check the president if he tries to get into some war-type shit without talking to you. Why is he? There's already a bill like that. It's called the Constitution. Right? So we need, the people we send to Congress are not doing, with a very small number of exceptions. Rand Paul, I think, is one. God bless him. The Congress is not doing their job. So we have a mechanism for that. It's called electing different people. It's called primarying. It's called primarying every single congressman. Yeah. Who goes along with presidents who jump the gun and send our people somewhere where they're not supposed to be if we're not at war in that place. That's part of the strategy.
Hey, Rev, what did they want out of the rally? What was the end game? What were they trying to achieve?
Well, basically, just trying to bring light to the point of what Dexter was talking about. That these presidents and the people in power are not using the Constitution the way it's supposed to be used, and you got people who are sworn in to supposed to be there to be the fail stop to uphold this. It was called Defend the Guard Rally. Is what it was.
Okay.
Is it defend the guard? Wait, was it about troops or the National Guard? Was it about regular Army or National Guard? Which one?
This is about both. It's actually about both, but they kind of really are behind the National Guard, because a lot of the people, a lot of the guys who spoke yesterday, were from the National Guard, and they was like, all of a sudden they're picking us up and putting us here and putting us here and putting us here. And it's not as if Congress is giving them the okay to do this. They're just doing it whenever they want. Just like, you understand what I'm saying? So
so that's a different situation. Because as I understand, it's up to the governors of the individual states and the different state National Guards. And for example, if a president decides he wants the Kansas, National Guard, whatever element of the National Guard is hosted in Kansas. But Kansas and the National Guard to some overseas location where things are getting hot, then the governor of Kansas, it's up to him to say no. Right? Now, are these local governors actually being held to account? I mean, look, again, I agree with the principle, but it's just like I also agree with the principle of not resorting to new legislation when the problem is we have people in office now who are not obeying the law as it stands. Yeah, and that's my real problem. Exactly. On new law, they don't do anything if people don't respect the law. No one does. Yeah, I'm sorry.
My father, he would say this all the time. And he would say, they make the rules go how they want them to. That's what he used to say all the time. They make the rules go how they want them to. Okay, this might apply over here, but it don't apply over here. That may work over here, but it won't work over here. Oh, he did this, but that don't apply to him. So the laws really, even if with your case, right? The laws are in place, but they picking and choosing. It's like the selective enforcement of the rules. You know what I'm saying? Or of the laws. It's
yeah. I mean, but this is exactly right, and you can't trust. Again, you can't trust. The whole point of electing officials is not that you elect them and close your eyes. That's the problem. You know, I think we've forgotten that. Is that like, no, you elect these guys, then you have to watch them really hard and hold them to account. And you're ready to primary them at a moment's notice if they act fool. Because remember, the laws that, okay, now you take my case. You know, New York State gun law is a fucking mess. I mean, it's, when I say, I don't just mean that it's unconstitutional, I mean that it's nonsensical in parts. Let me give you an example. Take a Glock style pistol. Dump the magazine out. Rack the slides, there's nothing up the pipe. Put the pistol on the table. Put a round of 9mm ammunition next to that empty pistol.
Mm-hmm.
According to the laws of New York State, that same pistol is now loaded.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you heard exactly what I said, Rev. You take a pistol, you know, empty out eject the mag, take the cartridge out the pipe if there is one, lay that empty pistol on the table, lay a round of compatible ammunition on that same table next to the pistol, and now, according to the laws of the state of New York, that pistol is loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
How y'all supposed to keep up with that?
So in my case,
Wait a minute, how are you supposed to keep up with that type of stuff, man? I mean, that's.
My point is this. The state of New York's the way that the state that New York's laws have gotten to we didn't accomplish that overnight. That was decades of neglect. That's what I'm getting at. It was decades of average New Yorkers deciding that their supposed peace and security was more important than having lawmakers obey the law. It was conservative governors, when they got into office, not caring about the Second Amendment and getting away with it. In other words, this didn't happen to us overnight. It never happened overnight. The way you can now just up and decide to put troops somewhere and to send this and to do a targeted strike and a surgical strike here, basically making war around the world with Congress saying nothing, we didn't get it overnight. And we're not going to fix it overnight. And we're not going to fix it by someone signing a bill. It's not that simple. Anyway, I heard a Minute Maid just pipe up, so I'm going to drop and come back, fellas.
Sounds like a deal.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The caller has hung up.
All right, for those who, like I always say, are new, just hanging out with us, this is what we do on Sundays. So we give Dexter Taylor, who is sitting in prison right now for a crime that he did not commit. You're talking about a true political prisoner. That would be Mr. One Dexter Taylor, who's sitting in prison right now. That's where he's calling from, and giving us the opportunity to say hi to him and things of that sort. And tonight, we do have Stan. Hey, Stan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, man?
Yeah, my name is Stan Steele. A longtime friend of Dexter Taylor. We used to go to school together. And I'm just a man trying to help Dexter get out of prison, man. You know, just doing what I can, you know, trying to do my portion to help him get out from under this thing. And, you know, Dexter made a good point a second ago talking about how things are not enforced. And there's a reason behind that. And I think that with everything that you try to do, right, or anything that you try to change within the country, or if you try to call somebody out on something that's not being enforced, I think what happens with people is there's so much red tape and there's so much hurdles you have to jump to get something done. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people, and he was just specifically talking about congressmen and women, is that it's so much red tape to get to them, to get anything done, to change something. A lot of people get discouraged, or a lot of people say, you know what, man, I got enough going on in my regular life. I don't have time to go up against them, you know, to try to change something. So, you know, I think that's what discourages a lot of people from, you know, going at things to try to change things, because there's a lot of red tape, stuff like that, you know.
I think you're probably right about that. Red tape discourages a lot of people from, one, trying to reform government, and two, even trying to, you know, start They're even trying to start some economic something that's going to improve their lives, right? You've heard about teenagers landing up in court because they open a lemonade stand, shit like that. I mean, too much government.
And then what they do too, they force a lot of people into pleading out and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
It's criminal matters. Well, yeah. I mean, look, sure. If fewer than 5% of criminal cases ever make it to trial. Most of them get pleaded out. Because it's like you have to use mandatory minimum sentences. Sentences for all kinds of nonviolent crimes, in my opinion, are still way too high, right? What seems to matter much more in maintaining order is the promptness of and regularity of punishment. You don't have to lock up shoplifters for 5 years. If you know that, listen, if you shoplift, we are going to get you. We're going to lay hands on you. You're going to go with 6 months guaranteed every time, and we'll see who gets tired first. That turns out to be more of a disincentive because you take someone out of circulation for that long, and you impose costs on them going through the system. But we have a thing where we like to envy about these long sentences, and then you wave him in a defendant's face, and then he pleads out, and then the prosecution's office gets to chalk up a win and go home. And that is a problem. Yes.
That's a fact. And
yes, sir.
It's no different. It's no different than years ago when they were talking about dudes that sell crack is more dangerous than dudes that sell powdered coke.
Right. Yep. That's right.
That's more dangerous to sell crack as opposed to a dude that sells cocaine.
Right.
That's absurd.
Completely ridiculous. But listen, remember. This is a good example of what I'm talking about how lack of vigilance gets us to a very bad spot. Because, for example, the Congressional Black Caucus was all on board with that shit. Mm-hmm. I know that for a fact because I was following this shit. Mm-hmm. And when I was living in Baltimore when the war on drugs really started to take off, and a lot of black politicians and black middle class homeowners who should have known better.
Black churches.
Black churches, thank you. All these laws that said, you can't. 3 people can't hang out on a corner for more than 15 minutes, otherwise they're arrested. Or we'll arrest you if you're sitting on the stoop in this neighborhood.
Yep.
Yeah,
remember that?
Right. So now after they come to me and say, see, it's white supremacy. But hey, boy, you was all in favor of that. Stop it. You were all on board. You didn't say anything. So this is what I feel like people get people who are too in love with well-being or order for its own sake, and forget that government is almost infinitely powerful with respect to the individual. They allow us to get into these bad situations, and the situation is very, as you pointed out, Sam. Once you get to the situation, it's much harder to get out than to get into it in the first place.
Who you saying? Once you get in the jam, it's tough. It really is. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I have to go in on everybody, right? So I'll give you another example. People calling themselves conservative, right? Not that long ago, and even now, after the fact, insist on lining up to kiss the hem of former Mayor Giuliani's robe. Mm-hmm. Right? Now this supposed conservative, this supposed Republican, supposed small, limited government person was locking people up for playing music on the subway. I mean, with instruments is what I mean. Locking people up for selling goods on the street. I'm not talking about bootleg Gucci. I'm talking about people who were making jewelry and all that. I remember because I used to know a lot of people in the community, and I remember when Giuliani started harassing them. Okay? So the supposed pro-business Republicans, right, were all in favor. And when the same Giuliani, the same supposed conservative, right, proposed to have the government raise people up on street corners and go through their pockets simply because of where they lived and what color they were. Mm-hmm. A bunch of so-called conservatives got right on board with that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yo, I remember when he got in office, when Giuliani got in office back in the day. Yo,
yes, sir.
You went to hardly seeing police. to seeing police everywhere. But the difference was they wasn't there to serve you.
No, right? They were there to listen.
Yeah,
They were there. They were there to put to jack bodies. To put people in vans. You know what I'm saying? And to make the numbers look right.
Oh, absolutely.
And so at the end of that thing, so you had a police department at the end of the day that knew how to make the numbers look right, but didn't know how to work the streets. You see what I'm saying? Didn't know how to actually talk to people. Didn't know how to create these ad hoc intelligence networks that I'm always talking about, where Mrs. So-and-so lives over there, and the corner boys hang out at this time, and the Winells are over here for the cut rate, and we know all those people.
Well,
so when something jumps off, we can go and talk to them.
But they was able. But they were able, everything that you're saying, right? When Giuliani came in, and how he started putting the hammer down, but they were able to do that because of the media presence, right? The media presence that put an ugly stain on a group of people, right? So when the police,
I would say.
But when the police came in and started cracking heads, then people were going, well, we have to have this here done because these people are getting out of hand. We have to have this here done.
I would say it's partially that. We have to be honest. A lot of people, felt a kind of way, not because of media, but just because that's the way they think.
Right.
Because that's the way they think.
So,
and because they don't know,
No. Thank you for saying that, because that's going to bring me to the next situation where that's why I told you, Dex, that it'd be nice if you was out here because people are going crazy. So, and I'm sure you probably, I don't know if you heard about the black boy who stabbed the white kid.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay, so we have white Republican influencers who are literally, as we speak right now, are doing everything they possibly can do to take that case to make it to where they're saying black people, and they're not even breaking this down to just saying this black person, these groups of black person, but they're putting this on blast as black culture, and saying that all black people are criminals, all black people are thugs, all black people have anger problems and things of that sort. And I say that to say this here. Here. If they put this on our culture, then whatever the police does to us will be okayed by them.
Well, wait a minute. Well, hang on a sec. First of all, I want to talk about different things as if they were different things. Because remember, when in Baltimore City, the city council started talking about, let's have a new rule that says you can't sit on the stoop. It wasn't no Republican influencers that were cheerleading that shit. It was black property owners. Let's be honest, okay? And the case is true that social media wasn't a thing. Social media wasn't a thing during all the years when you had presidents from both parties, by the way, sending troops, dropping bombs, doing this, doing that, and not paying any political price for it, because people were like, well, we got to do this and this and this and that. So there's plenty of blame to go around. Now, as far as these influencers are concerned, well, first of all, these influencers, I mean, most of these guys are retarded. I'm very sorry. I believe they're doing that because that's what they always do. I guess I'm less concerned with social media influencers and whatever retarded shit they happen to say in the given news cycle, and I'm more concerned with the way ordinary voters think about things and reason about things as citizens. Both are important, but it's like I've given up with trying to reason. I'm trying to reason with these professional influencers, because after all, they're in it for a bag. They want to get. They may or may not believe that shit, but they get a lot of clicks from it, so they're down with it. Okay, fine. The real question is The people that we put in government, who we vote for. The question is, how do we hold them accountable? And what I'm suggesting is that all of us, well, first of all, it would be a very good idea for more of us, more ordinary people, to stop loving any party whatsoever. That's the first thing. Stop loving parties, stop hating parties. Just watch them. Watch what they do. Stop loving politicians, stop hating them. Watch what they do. Stop thinking that this guy is my guy because he's got a D or an R next to his name. And start thinking about the fact that, government is the thing that has to be controlled. Of course, we have to have civic order. Of course, we have to, investigate crimes and punish crime and so on and so forth. But let's just keep in mind that that government isn't backed by force. Government is force. So if you let it have its way, one day it's going to have its way with you. And that's so when something like this happens, Rev, I'm not really even so much talking to the influencers. I don't care what they say, what they do. I'm interested in my fellow citizens, trying to remind them that, look, don't think that your prejudice, if you allow your prejudices to be enshrined in law, do not be surprised when that law comes back to bite you. That's what I would say. I don't even talk to the influencers. Hell with them. Charlie Kirk, I don't care. I mean, Charlie Kirk expressed it like, you sound stupid, sissy. Like, next contestant, I just don't care, right? But, that's what I'm interested in, getting more people to understand. And listen, you don't have to take my word for it. The same government that so-called conservatives were cheerleading when we were like, yeah, let's have some more, let's have more no-knock warrants. Let's have more indefinite detention. Let's have terrorist enhancements for any and everything, right? Those same people felt the sting when under Biden, right? The government came after people who protested at school board meetings. They're like, oh, what? You don't like pornography in your kid's school library? Yeah, you're a terrorist, bro. We got to watch you. See what happened? See that? Right? And I want people to remember that. I want to remember that. Because whenever you think about just like you said, well, there's these terrorists. Yeah, you wanted to give the government more power because you were sure that those powers would never be used against someone against someone who looked like you. You were sure of that, and you were wrong. So that's what we have to keep saying, And yeah, let the influencers keep saying what they're saying. That's what they always say anyway. That's not news. Of course that's what they say. I'll give you another example. The comply or die conservatives. All of us have seen these videos where law enforcement officers are getting out of pocket and abuses toward a citizen. But depending on the color of that citizen, the reaction is very different. While I was outside, I remember Jeff Charles and them showed me this video that showed a police officer tasing somebody on a traffic stop. This is an old black guy. Not because he got violent, not because he acted in a threatening manner, but because he refused to sign a piece of paper. I'm not making it up. You can go look it up yourself. This officer tased this man because he refused to sign the summons.
I believe that. I believe that.
Right? Okay. And you should have seen the number of so-called conservatives who piped up and said, well, you should have just signed a piece of paper. And I'm sitting there going, you can't use the force of law to force someone to sign a document, stupid.
Wow.
Right? Okay. The same conservatives will get all weepy. They get all weepy about Randy Weaver, okay? Because Randy Weaver had the bad taste to get into a gunfight with the federal government. Well, bro, you got into a gunfight with the federal government. Okay? So if you're telling me that so-and-so should have just laid down and let him keep beating him, and he moved too much, he pushed his leg, that could be resistance. So he has to just, while they're beating him, he just got to stay lay there. Or, if he tells you to sign a piece of paper, just sign it. And if you don't sign it, well, you should expect to get tased. Okay, so then don't get mad when the government shows up at Randy Weaver's crib and things get hot and he starts firing at him, and next thing you know, his wife gets shot dead by an FBI sniper through the window. I mean, that's just how that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And this is what I keep saying. We don't have to like each other, but we do have to engage in the discipline of loving each other, of caring about what happens to each other, because otherwise we're all going to go down. You know, the same government that oppresses me today is going to oppress you tomorrow. That's just the truest thing that you can think of. And we've seen it happen again and again and again. So that's what I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm ranting. No, it's fine. I never looked at the government in terms of them, being my friend or them coming to me with in a manner that's friendly, and they say, "Hey, Sam, we're gonna do this for you and that for you, and we're gonna take care of you." I never looked at the government, the police, different agencies. I never looked at them like that. Never. So, to speak to what you just said, how do you do it? How exactly do you monitor these congressmen and women? How do you monitor that?
It's easy because
how do you monitor?
Look. Here's the good news, right? I mean, these days, policemen, at least in New York State and other places, do have body cameras. It's fairly easy to see what these guys are doing with some exceptions.
Yo, Doug, hold on, stop right there, Doug.
Yeah.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Here's a case right now, right here in the city. Here's a case right now. Two cops, 124, 127. They went up in the whorehouse on Northern Boulevard in Queens. Northern Boulevard, right out there by the hospital.
I know what it is. Yeah.
These fools turn off their body cam, rob a chick, molest a chick. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You got
wait a minute, but you said there's a case, meaning they got caught anyway. That's what I'm trying to point out. Right, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, look, the problem here's what I'm trying to say. The problem is not, look, is there too much secrecy in government? Local, state, and federal, yes. But our problem is not secrecy. The problem is not that government is doing a bunch of stuff we do. That's a separate problem. The problem we're talking about right now is the government is doing a bunch of stuff we can't see, and no one in government is paying a price. That's the problem. That's the problem. Okay. So now, again, as I've said, people have to realize that getting involved in politics is a necessary thing. It's not the only thing. Politics by itself will not save us, but yes, you gotta take up these precinct committee chairmanships. You gotta be interested in who's running the city council. You got to be ready to primary anyone who's not falling in line. Okay, and that goes right up from chief dog catcher to attorney general to governor and so on and so forth. And the problem now is that these people don't pay a price for it. They don't pay a political price for what they do. Some of these changes we should make are structural. For example, some police in New York City, the chief of police he serves at the pleasure of the mayor. In other places, you have a sheriff, and the sheriff is elected. So if the sheriff's deputies are running wild, it's at least possible for the people to say, you know something, your sheriff's deputy, you can't control your deputies, so you got to go. We can't say that in New York because the only person who can tell the commissioner that's got to go is the mayor, right? So, look, I'm not saying that there's any kind of overnight fix, but at the end of the day, the first thing is awareness and attention. Yeah.
I don't even think. I don't even think. This is my word. I don't even think they should allow you to do two gigs that I know a little bit about. I don't think they should let you be a police officer unless you live somewhere within the neighborhood itself. And I don't think they should let you be the principal of a school unless you live in the school, in the area where your school is. Because
unless you send your kids.
Because we got too many people coming from God knows where, the end of Long Island,
Yeah.
And they don't really know anything about the kids that they're serving. They don't know anything about them, and it's the same thing with the cops. You know, they
here's the thing. Well, here's the thing. In principle, I agree with you, but as a matter of fact, that one will be a difficult one to implement. What's an easier one, right? It's to insist that, listen, if you're a patrolman and you want to make sergeant, you got to log a certain number of hours of foot patrol. Actual foot patrol. People walk around and talk to people. That's something we can. It's possible for someone from Suffolk, Long Island, Suffolk County, I should say, to come into the city and do their shift to the 85th precinct or wherever, and get to know the people in the area. But not if there's no incentive. And right now, there's no incentive. Cops ride around in cars, and they only jump out when there's something wrong. Now, that's a problem. That would be a problem even for cops who did live in the area. Because if the only time you deal with the residents of so-and-so neighborhood is when they're at their worst, then eventually you will start to think the worst of those people. Doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter where you live.
But
so if we can fix that. Go on.
It's like this, bro. You and I, like, we from Brooklyn, I'm from Bed-Stuy. Bro, if you stay in the area long enough, you get this training that comes about with you from just being in the area. You get this training. It's almost second nature. Like, you could diffuse a lot of situations way before they jumped off, with the understanding of being
yeah.
I agree with you. Give you a good example. When you don't understand people. So we're watching this woman. She calls the police to her house, right? The police come, they got it on the body camera and whatnot. And the woman says to the cop, I'll rebuke you.
Right.
This fool says, you better not. Then he pulls out his hammer and shoots her in the head.
Are you serious?
Yeah, y'all didn't see that case. That white cop shot the black lady in the head because she said,
I didn't. Well, I didn't see it because I'm in here.
Well, right. But yeah, that whole situation was foul. And the thing about that is she looked.
This is the New York.
Yeah, but she didn't say anything. Think about that though, right? There was 2 cops, right? 2 or 3 cops, right?
Yeah, there was a couple of them. Right,
and she didn't say anything to the other cops that she was dealing with, but she looked at that cop and said that as if she knew something. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, let's say that's the case. Let's say that's the case. He said, you effing better not. She says, okay, sir, I'm sorry. And he still blew her head off. And the point of me bringing this up is, I'm just talking about the understanding that we have of the people that we patrolling and policing and we overseeing and schools and whatnot. This guy don't have an understanding. Okay, she said.
But Stanley, look. Again, I'm with you on the principle. But first of all, with this is not a great example. Why? Because that cop is obviously a mad dog who doesn't understand English. If you don't understand English, you don't know no matter where you live. You could be in Suffolk County and not know English. You could be in Brooklyn and not know English. That's the first. The second time is doing that dog, because if someone hasn't pulled out a weapon, then you got no business pulling their weapon and discharging rounds. So, in other words, that's the most clear-cut case you could possibly imagine. Let me give you another example that's better. Eric Garner.
Who?
Eric Garner.
Oh,
Eric Garner.
Shaolin. Yeah.
From Staten Island, right. Okay,
yeah,
now, you and I know Eric Garner. What I mean by that is we know guys who pull up outside the corner store, the liquor store, and it's sell Lucy. And usually, Tell me I'm wrong. Usually, the guy who owns the liquor store, they have some arrangement between them.
You don't even care. You don't care.
Either you don't care, or he's gonna give him a few. He's gonna give him a few bills at the end of the day because he knows if he can operate in front of the liquor store, he's gonna get that casual traffic. And the guy owning the liquor store knows I got this guy, another pair of eyes on the street. That's good. Okay, now, these cops, right? Instead, like I always say, you've heard me say this before, Rev. Good police. That is, I'm not saying morally good. I'm saying police that understood the art of policing as it was practiced when I was growing up in New York City. Good police would have known Eric Garner, and he would have been a resource to them.
Yeah.
Good police would have been like, hey, Eric, what's going on? What do you hear? What do you say? Yeah, we heard something pop up. You hear anything? Da, da, da. He would have been a part of their network. This is what I mean by policing, right? Now, you could fix this problem by forcing police to live in a neighborhood, or you could just say that police have to walk the streets and they have to get to know people. And whether or not a patrolman, makes sergeant depends on how few complaints he gets against him. So now it's in your interest if you want to up your pay grade, do whatever to stop, make a career out of it. You got to know how to be able to walk the streets and know how to talk to people. So, and I say that because go on. I say that because again, it's relatively hard. It's going to be relatively hard as a matter of law to change the law to say, well, cops have to live in the same neighborhood. Well, what if they have a family this size? What if housing is this cost? What if okay, fine. Forget about that. It's relatively easy to say, especially because the mayor through the police commissioner runs the department. It's relatively easy to say, listen, we're going to start doing street patrols again. We're going to start doing beat patrol. We're going to commit to beat policing. And beat policing will be another way that patrolmen can make sergeant. It'll be another way that sergeants can make captain or whatever else, or make lieutenant. And you got to walk the street, and if people file complaints against you, that's going to count against your service record and such and such and such. The problem is, at the end of what I'm getting at is that the incentives are wrong. And the reason why I never stopped going after Giuliani, even after the fact of his running New York City, is because he put all the wrong incentives in place to get the kind of policing that we have now. The incentive was you get your arrest numbers up. Well, that only works if you think arresting people is the purpose of policing. That's not the purpose of policing. The purpose of policing is to deter crime and to set up networks that will let you investigate crimes after they happen. That's the purpose of policing. And occasionally, in the course of you may need to jack someone against the wall. You may need to put someone in the back of the car. You may need to discharge your weapon. But discharging a weapon and arresting someone and throwing someone against the wall, throwing someone in the car, is not the purpose. It's just
You
a
have
side
1 minute
effect.
left.
Our fellow citizens have to get that right. Policing is not car chases and shootouts. Policing is relationships. That's what it is. And it's the first thing that has to happen is that we as citizens have to get our minds right about that. And if we don't, again, it's not always going to be our kids getting brutalized by police. Eventually, it's going to be where some other kids are getting brutalized by the same cops. And then people are going to be like, oh, we have a problem with policing. Well, yes, we've had a problem for a long time. You all don't want to listen. So I just want 1 minute warning. I'm going to jump back right quick.
Okay.
All right, bet.
Yes, sir.
The caller has hung up.
All right. So Dexter's gonna sign off here for a second, and he'll be back. We get him for usually about 35 minutes, and then again, as you can see, we have to take a break, and then he will call back again. We had started off, which we're going to get back into it because I think we kind of tailed off a little bit from the initial conversation about the. Well, you've been keeping up with that story, correct? The kid that stabbed the other kid.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Oh, you didn't hear about the black kid? Well, right now,
the twins. You talking about the twins?
Yeah. Have you?
Yeah, the football player twin. Yeah. I'm aware of that story. I'm aware.
Okay,
I read that.
So you
I read
had
that.
Alrighty. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you had an opportunity to take a look at that. But have you seen any of the backlash that has come from that? And
last I heard was the kid stabbed him. He was 16. He stabbed him, and it was over something that happened at school. That's what I read. And I don't know anything. You got to bring me up to speed on the backlash, though.
Oh, you haven't been keeping up with you haven't been keeping up with the Matt Walsh of the world?
No, like I read that. I read it somewhere like in the crawl, man. I saw it on my crawl and I read it, and
what's that?
But I didn't get in depth with that one.
I reposted something today from somebody, and this is the type of stuff that's been out there that they've been putting out there. We have this Lord Miles politics. It's Lord Miles politics. He said the entire real estate market of the West is based on how far away can I get from these people without having to drive. These people, meaning black people. How far away can I get away from these black people? You have influencers like Matt Walsh, who is saying some of the things that is just terrible about black people and trying to set it up to where black people are the problem throughout the United States in all communities. Whether you are a black man who lives in a community like I am, or a black man who lives in a community like you are, the problem in those communities are black people. Is pretty much what, if you read these influencers who are saying these things, and what they're doing is creating a narrative. So therefore, when if Trump gives the police the okay, immunity, and when they walk around and start busting people up upside the head, we know which people they're going to be busting upside the head. No ifs, ands, or buts. We know who's going to get the stops. We know who's going to, get the stop and frisk tactics. But that's the narrative. If you look at some of these influences right now, that's the narrative that has been put out there. There's a couple of them.
But that's what they always say, Rev. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what they always say. Who cares? You know what I mean? Seriously, like Lord Miles, what's his face? Like, okay, like I never even heard of this guy, but okay, he's up there. So, by the way, there's a bunch. Is he an influencer because he's just on YouTube? Does he have a?
I got him. I got him. No, I got him from off of. I got him from off of. Hold on. Here's another one. This Taylor.
Wait, finish it. You got him off of where?
Oh no, I got him off of Twitter. I got that text.
Okay.
I got that tweet off of Twitter.
Okay, so let's say how many followers does he have? Do we know?
Let's see here. How many do you have? I think he's over 20.
Okay. All right. So for example, again, New York. Okay, New York City. There's like 8-9 million people in New York City. All right, so this guy's got 20,000 followers. So first of all, where is he in the first place? How politically active is his following in the first place? Again, as I keep saying, Twitter is not a demographic. Twitter is not a demographic. So I don't, it's like, to me, I don't think. Look, it's not that. Of course, it's not that I'm on board with what these guys are saying, but I just don't think what they're saying is that important in itself, absent some kind of larger political program. And the thing is, the political program is already messed up. Like we have, in other words, whether or not these people say anything, we already have in many places a political program that is detrimental to Americans, right? In some cases, the detriment is more color based, right? Or zip code based, or both. But we already have a political program. In other words, the political program is the problem. The problem is not what this guy's saying. The problem is what agents of the government are actually doing. And they've been doing that long before this guy got a Twitter account. That's my point. So, yes.
Oh, yeah. No.
I don't care that. I don't care that much what he has.
I agree. I agree with you on that. This is something that the government has been doing. My point is this. Like I was about to tell you, I have another one here from Taylor Silverman. Taylor Silverman says, "It's funny how black people never want to pay for anything until someone makes a GoFundMe page for a murderer." My point of they're using this situation between a black kid and a white kid to try to drag the black community and black people. That's
what they always do.
Right.
That's what they always do. So, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong, Reverend. I'm just saying, so what? So, I mean, listen. You talk about Twitter. You talk about Twitter. I've been on Telegram. And you think it's bad on Twitter? Yo, jump on Telegram and see what some of these groypers, as they call themselves, say about black folks.
Who?
It's that's what they call themselves groypers. GROYPERS. They were pretty big back when Biden was president, back when I was outside. Groypers, they're supposedly they're like militantly Catholic, and they're ultra conservative, and they're like out and proud racist. Okay, well, to me, it's like when I saw these guys, like Nick Fuentes, for example, is probably the most famous groyper there is, which is very funny. Because you look at this guy and it's like, well, first of all, you're a sissy. That's the first thing. Like, so why do I care that much about what you have to say about black folks? It's like, yeah, of course they're going to say that. Oh, I don't think I was mad. People come out on my page and say, well, my case is Second Amendment case. They say, well, I don't think black people should be trusted with firearms at all. Okay, well, that's his opinion. That's his business. He's not causing a problem for me. The Democrats running New York are causing a problem for me, to be honest.
You need to jump in his comments or somewhere on his page or however it goes, right? It just informed the man that black folks are not going anywhere. Okay?
even that is a waste of my time. Even that is a waste of my time. So I have better shit to do, for real.
How long it take to do that, Dex? A couple of seconds? How long it take to do that? A few seconds?
I don't care. That's my couple seconds. That's my couple seconds. I want it. I could do something. Yo, Dan. I'm here. Mad useful in those 2 seconds. No. You know why? Because a lot of these. No, let's be honest. A lot of these sissies. Okay, they get a rise out of the fact that people get mad about what they say.
Yeah,
they get off on that. Okay, so like black people, I don't care. Okay, I don't want to live near black people. I don't want to live near you, stupid. I don't care. Listen, I've had people like this come off like to me in a group chat, like I said, listen, first of all, bro, I don't care. I don't care what you think about black people. And I said, I've had guys say, oh, America needs to go back to being a wild country. I said, bro, no problem. Listen, I'm home tonight. I'm not doing anything tonight. Start my house. Okay, but make sure your weapons are zero. Make sure your weapons are zero first. and keep it moving.
There you go.
That's it. There's no, why am I going to try to take this guy to task for saying something? That's his business.
No. Let me just say this too, man. This is in regard to your case too, Dex. Let me just say this. I just want to put this up here to all Rev listeners and everybody that's tuned in tonight. So I'm not going to get into deep with it. I'm not going to elaborate too much, but. We had a guy on last week. I'm not going to say his name and all of that. But here's the deal. If you're going to deal with Dexter Taylor, and I think that feels the same way. Yo, man, if you ain't trying to help Dexter get out the can, keep it moving. We're trying to get Dexter's in real jail, man. Like, this is a real thing. And, you know, every little thing, every little move we all trying to make, we all trying to do our little portion to help get him out of the can. And if you ain't trying to do that, man, just keep it moving. It's okay, you know. You don't have to put on no front for the cause here. And I just want to say that. I just want to get that off my chest. You know what I'm saying?
You saying actors shouldn't show up start acting?
Oh man, like what's the point of that, man? We men here. What's the point? Are you gonna help the cause or not? Oh well, I can't do that because of this. Oh well, then keep it moving, bro. Keep it moving.
Reverend, we were in space to bring you up to speed. Stanley and I were in a Twitter space last week Tuesday, and a famous black actor who will go unnamed stepped in, and you know, listen, God bless him. He got his own opinions and whatever. I don't know what his opinion of so-called gun control is, but you know, it's I think that there's this thing that people feel. I mean, look, anyone has the right to weigh in, but it's just that some people want to have it both ways. Some people want to weigh in, but they don't want to actually put anything behind it. Like they don't want to, you know, risk any of their following being alienated or what have you. And look, I get that. I get it. You know, you have a following that's of a certain political leaning, and you feel that if you posted something that's pro-Second Amendment, you alienate a lot of your people. No problem. You know, I don't have any right against someone that they use their influence to do X, Y, and Z. It's just like Stanley said, just be real about it. Just, you know, yeah, it's okay. It's not a problem.
Keep it moving, man. Keep it moving. We're good. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. We'll put our together to try to make $1, man. We don't need you. You know.
Listen, Stanley, let me say what makes it so bad. The same guys not that long ago when I was outside, I was in a different chat with him, a different podcast with, and it was like a hardcore reparationist. You know, like, we got to get the federal government to amass this money, and they got to write checks, you know, which is fine. I mean, you know, I know some reparationists. I'm not one, but I know a few. But it's like,
I know we gotta get that.
Right. You know we're not getting that money. So stop it. Stop wasting your time.
People standing around waiting on their 40 acres and a mule, you know what I'm saying? And that's fine.
Right.
Exactly. Come on, man.
It's not going to happen.
I know.
So exactly, right? So it's just funny to me that, like, cats will be all, you know, like, I don't know about reparations, but then when it comes to, well, listen, you know, the government doesn't have to do anything special except obey the existing law that's written down right there in the Constitution. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a basic Second Amendment thing, but you don't want to argue for Second Amendment stuff, but you want to argue for reparations. You know what I'm saying? It's like I do feel a kind of way about that. Like, well, really, so you want to talk about what someone else has to give you, you know, and not about what you already have the right to under the law. That's crazy, but so be it.
Mm-hmm. Like they say, stay sucker free, okay? Stay sucker free. I worked very hard in my life to stay sucker free, man. You have no idea. Suckers are everywhere.
I'm gonna start channeling, hey bro, I'm gonna start channeling M2 I'm sucker free in the day. You know what
yeah, that's right. That's right. May M2 rest in peace for his classic.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So listen, I just wanted to come on for a little bit, man, and chop it up with you guys. You know, thank you for having me call. Thank you for calling me and plugging me in. And, you know, Rev, I know you're going to win Lieutenant Governor. You know what I'm saying? I already know that. That's That's gonna happen. And Dex, you already know, man. Just contact me whenever you need to. I'm around.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's always good to chop it up with you, brother.
Yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. So I'm out, man. Standstill is done for the night. I'm gonna start taking it down, man, and try to get myself ready for tomorrow.
All right, brother, man.
All right, man. We'll wrap.
All right,
Thank
appreciate you, Stan. Thanks,
right,
man.
Right, shalom.
Back to the family. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. These influencers, man, they playing the fool. Well, they're not playing. They really are. But it is what it is.
But the thing about these people is they can get a lot of people revved up. You know what I mean? When a lot of us just want to be able to get up in the morning and live our lives and go on about our business and do the things that we're doing, we got to worry about some knucklehead just in case, he fly off the handle and believe these boneheads. Those are the things that I look at and I talk about, because I sit here and I say to myself all the time, I do everything I possibly can do to make sure that I'm not ending up behind bars. You understand what I'm saying? At the end of the day, and I got some knucklehead who feels that he needs to carry out something that some of these influencers says, and they'll do it. Look at the people that went and shot it when they was talking about Hillary Clinton had a secret get up thing at a pizza shop in New York, right? And what did they do? These boneheads went and they shoot the place up or kill somebody that was at this pizza shop or something like that?
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? So you got those people out there that will listen to these boneheads and then go carry out stuff. You know what I mean?
Listen. Yeah, but we can't. Yeah, okay. Granted, but there's nothing we can do about that. First of all, because they have the right to say whatever they want.
True.
Do about that.
True.
That's the first thing. And the second thing is, boneheads never need an excuse to jump off ever.
Right.
Ever. Okay. Listen, the biggest bonehead in the Old Testament. Okay. Well, I say the first and biggest bonehead, maybe the second, was Cain. He didn't need any social media influencers to tell him to off his brother because he thought God liked his sacrifice better. You feel me? So yes, influencers will say dumb shit and try to get people ginned up, but people will get ginned up over any and everything. And a lot of times, by the way, what we're finding is these same people who get ginned up and go and shoot the place, we're actually talking to some FBI cats on social media. And that's what we find. Is that in a lot of cases, they were getting turned up by some dude who was on some intel mission, or trying to put some case together. I mean, what was that? What was the thing about something about kidnapping Governor Whitmer of Michigan and?
Oh yeah,
and when the whole thing
that was another.
Was like every other guy in the thing was a Fed. Most of the guys in there were Fed. He's like, what the Fed? Trying to say, we gotta get moving. We gotta go tomorrow. It's like all these Feds, right? So I guess it's like I just yes, is it mildly annoying? Yes, but it's annoying to me mostly because it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And like. I'm like, okay, so you're happy to indulge that kind of rhetoric. Well, keep indulging it. Men of action, in the meantime, have work to do. That's the way I think about it. Because, again, you're not going to stop them. I don't want to stop them. Even if I could, I wouldn't. Because, again, I don't want the ability to stop someone from speaking, especially when I don't like what they're saying. I don't want that ability. I don't want anyone else to have it. So let them say what they keep saying. Let Matt Walsh stay, start calling stupid. Bless his heart. Okay? The rest of us got work to do. That's the way I feel about that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm like you, man. I even put that out there today, saying I'm glad these people are saying what they say, because now they're honest. Exactly. I said exactly that. At least they're honest. Now we all get to see. We all get to see how some thinks. So when those who fight and defend racism, they can't come back and go, well, there's no evidence in what you say. Yeah, it is. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Twitter now.
Yeah.
So they can't sit there and go, "Oh, nobody's saying this and nobody is saying that," because I know it's all it's all over Twitter now. So I'm telling all of them, don't be shy. Say what you really feel. Yeah. Say what you really mean. Right? Nobody's gonna mess with you or try to cancel you, because this is your true feelings. You know what I mean?
Say what you feel. Exactly. That shit is in your heart. Say it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I say the same thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I'm really more. I feel what I'm really upset about is the fact that, speaking of conservative politics today, I mean, there are people who've been doing real work behind the scenes in conservative politics, and who actually had an effect on this last federal election, last presidential election. And after the election, all the usual suspects got together and sort of high-fiving like they had done something. That's what I'm upset about. I'm like, how come no one with a microphone is talking to people who really were doing the work? You know, the people like Chicago Red and so on and so forth who were actually out there trying to turn things around and what have you. People dropping science, political science online, like Sonny Johnson. I just people flying the flag for liberty. Like Jeff Charles. It's just like I just would like more of the people who are doing real work to be recognized. And I think, unfortunately, in the conservative discussion, it's just people who know how to raise money and know how to get a lot of clicks, that those are the ones who get recognized. What I call the usual suspects. But even that, it's like, what can we do about that? Well, you can just, the answer is when we get a microphone, we pass the microphone. That's what we're going to do. Someone's got some influence, they got some, they got some more presence on social media, pass the microphone. We can dig each other up. We can say, hey, listen, this person has been really doing the work behind the scenes and getting things done, and state of play for conservative politics in this country. I'll never stop talking about Sonny Johnson. I don't know why she's not on more podcasts I do know why. I know why. Because she's strong for him. I can't say anything with you, man. Some of these people there say, I want to talk to you. Why was that? Because then they might have to talk about something real, right? They might have to talk about something real. There's someone who is actually already on the right. They don't want that. Like, you're on the right, and you're actually in the city. You're actually in the place where, the gang wars are dropping bodies and so on and so forth. Where you have to like strap up and go into a crack house to pull a teenage girl out of whatever. You're actually on the front line. Why would these microphone warriors want to talk to you?
Right.
They didn't understand. Please. Yeah, bro. So that's what we do. Just stay on the mission. Come to think of it, actually, Rev, as I think about this, I also remember that a lot of these people ginning things up on. We have to remember that a lot of these guys, not all of them, of course, some of them really do feel that way. Listen, bless their hearts, but a lot of them are feds. Let's be honest. In fact, what's his face? Nick Fuentes is almost certainly a federal asset. Almost certainly. So, they get there, black people, and then, hit me up on the private chat, get you caught up in the midst. And it's like, oh, this guy was a Fed, this guy's an informant. So, it's like, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, these guys have no credibility. They're not doing anything. All they know how to work is their mouth. So be it.
Right. That's pretty much what it comes down to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We all.
I'm
trying to.
Yeah, that's where it's at. You know.
Let me do this real quick. Hold
So
on.
what else has been going on in the East Echo that I've been missing while I've been here? Talk about the tariffs. Talk about these dumbass influencers. What else? What else? Yeah.
Oh, you know what? There hadn't been, it's almost been almost a slow news day, other than all of the tornadoes that has broken out down south. So my hometown
that's crazy.
my hometown is being flooded out there in Memphis, Tennessee.
Damn.
So that's going on with everything. So
I heard.
Like, holy smoke.
Yeah, I heard about Tennessee getting it. I didn't know like Memphis itself had been flooded. That's crazy.
Yeah. Some parts are flooding out. The Mississippi rose up. They had a big. I don't know if you know about that big election for that judge that they had in Wisconsin. Did you hear about?
In Wisconsin, I did read about that. Yeah,
man.
And I guess a Democrat won it or whatever.
Yeah, that's after Elon Musk went in there and put in millions of dollars, bro. Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And they were like,
yeah, I think that was probably a mistake. I mean, having him in there was probably a mistake. The whole point of having a hatchet man is that, like, no one really sees the hatchet man. They just feel a kind of way toward the hatchet man, and that lets you kind of you can like he's almost like a lightning rod, so that you can do it with other things. Like you don't take a lightning rod and put him in the center. If he's a hatchet man, then be the hatchet man. Stay in the office and building the hatchet. What are you coming out and handing out checks and shit? Tactically, whatever you feel like Elon Musk as a human being, I don't care. But just tactically, that was a poor move. I thought, like, no, what are you doing?
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, he can't. I think I look at it. Well, it's just like what I saw here. Like I said, when I was down at the Capitol on Saturday, like I said, there was two protests going on. Right, there was a protest that was going on outside, and there was a protest going on. Well, it's not really. It was a rally, but there was a protest going on outside. There was a protest going on. I mean, a rally going on inside. But the one that was on outside, oh my God, there had to have been about 20,000 people that showed up at the Capitol to reject here in Minnesota some of Trump's policies. Like I said before, here in Minnesota, Trump didn't win here in Minnesota. He didn't win the counties that he needed to win, which is Duluth, Hennepin County, and Rochester. Those three areas pretty much kept him from winning Minnesota, even though all outstate. If you look at the map on Minnesota, it's all red, man. It literally it's all red, except for 4 places in Minnesota. That's it. That is it. Which here in Minnesota, the outstate can never win a state race, right?
Right.
And then yesterday, yep. So yesterday, all these people came together and turned this place into a group of the Walking Dead, pretty much.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, man, it was. They were just walking around with their signs, going, GOP this and Trump this and Elon this and all of this here type of stuff, man. It was a sight to see. So while I'm in the rotunda listening to like I said, the rally that I was attending.
You have 1 minute left.
All these boneheads are outside just going nuts, man, making all types of noise and some of everything. So
man, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I just wish we had more true conservatives who care about cities, representing those blue parts of Minnesota.
Well, I call it the blue. I call it the blue wall here. They got a blue wall. Well, you got a minute. You got that minute.
Yep. I'm gonna drop and come back right now.
Sounds like a deal.
And, yeah. All right.
The caller has hung up.
So once again, I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us on a Sunday, giving Dexter some people's ears. And what we do is, like I said, a lot of times we just cut up whatever is in the news, whatever is going on. We usually talk about it and give our opinion on that. Hopefully here soon we'll have it set up, and I've been working on this here, have it set up to where people can actually call in and be able to, but I don't know how to work my phone thing here. That's the only thing there is, but we're going to get it figured out where I can call you, you leave me your number or something, and I can call you and I can add you to the conversation, and then you can actually talk to Dexter also. So we're working on that. I'm working on that from my end. I think it'll be the same thing with my phone. I know Carl is the one that's on the back end of this that Dexter usually calls him, and Carl patches us all together with everything. So we're gonna see if I can get that going here on my end and give that a try. So like I said, if somebody wants to say hi to Dexter or want to talk to Dexter or something of that sort, you'll be able to call in and give him a hoot on there. But as you can see, I have my red hat on tonight. This is a Dexter Taylor hat that you're seeing. It says "I stand with Dexter Taylor." It's got the carbon mic on there. I also, those who know, I also have a black one, a black hat that says it's basically the same thing and the whole nine. I wore that back-to-back Sundays, so I want to pull out the red one. Again, I've got to deal with some people to get me a hoodie that also says "I stand with Dexter Taylor," and that money also goes to Dexter to help fight help with his legal fees and things of that sort. So we want to try to help him out in every which way we can to get this man out. We're
of prison. Back, Rev.
Thank you, Carl. To get this man out of prison, or to make sure that the state knows that we stand behind Dexter. So if each and every one of you could, not have that $5.80 chocolate mocha latte one day, and maybe send that to Dexter's fund to be able to fund some of what's going on with his legal fees, we would definitely appreciate it. Or get yourself a hat. Get yourself a hat. Some of that money also goes to Dexter's legal fund also. If you can do that for us, we'll definitely appreciate that. But Dexter is back. We want to do one more here, Dex. Is that okay?
Yeah, we'll do one more. Yeah, I gotta jump off and call my daughter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I heard what you were talking about. People can also send an email or send a DM or tag a federal official, a Department of Justice official in social media. The DOJ is looking into the states and how the states have been violating civil rights by way of violating the Second Amendment. Thank God. They're looking at California right now. New York might be next, or Illinois, or Maryland, or wherever. But that they're at least on mission as far as looking at the Second Amendment as actually protecting civil rights, which is huge. So right to Pam Bondi, right to Harmony Dillon, right to, what's his name, John Sauer, Chief Counsel, DOJ's Chief Counsel. They just recently got confirmed. Let's try to keep this front of mind for these DOJ officials specifically, because the best thing that can happen for us is that the DOJ comes down on New York and starts asking uncomfortable questions about like why they're spying on American citizens and why they're denying American citizens equal protection under the law simply because they live within the boundaries of New York State. And of course we're going to keep fighting. My legal team's going to keep fighting. We're in April now. My legal team should be filing the first brief sometime this month. And of course, we're just gonna just keep going. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, here, Dexter, why don't you just skim over your case a little bit, to let people know what's going on, where you're at with everything.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah. My name is Dexter Taylor, a.k.a. Carbon Mike. I've been doing conservative politics online since about 2015 or so. I've got a 30-plus year career in the software industry as a software engineer. I'm a shade tree mechanic. I'm a licensed amateur radio operator. And around 2020, I got interested in making firearms. I started making buying 80% receivers and machining them into to complete arms. And these were all parts I bought legally under my own name, shipped to my house. And of course, none of my weapons ever left my house. I was never transferring or intending to transfer weapons. I never talked about weapons on social media, about my weapons, about gunsmithing. In fact, I was studying to get my FFL, so I could figure out how to actually open my gun lab in New Hampshire or something. Anyway, in 2022, I got raided, and it turned out that essentially ATF had spied on me and relayed the information about my purchases to New York, and then it became this big New York case. We went to trial. I refused all plea bargains. And the trial was highly politicized, as you might imagine. We lost that trial. Here I am, and we're of course appealing, because we can all read the Second Amendment. We all know what it says, what it means, and that's more or less it. And so our basic premise is that states have the right to make their own laws, but not laws that violate the Constitution. States can and do make their own permitting laws in terms of permission to carry, but I wasn't carrying anything. This was in my house. So our premise is that the Second Amendment protects any right at all. It's the right to keep and bear arms in your own house. You don't need the state's permission to do that. So that's where we are. I've been kind of trying to stay in the swing of things, talking to you, Reverend, talking with Carl and many of my conservative friends from Twitter and Twitter Spaces, and just trying to keep things in front of mind people out there and remind people of what's at stake. Because really, if the state can demand that you ask them for permission to have weapons in your home, then it seems to me that the Second Amendment is a dead letter. So that's the one place where especially no infringement should be allowed, especially for someone who has a clean record, as I do. So that's the long and short of it.
You've never been to jail?
No, sir.
How many parking tickets did you have?
Never had any. I've had a few parking tickets. But no speeding tickets, but a few parking tickets. Never had any problems with law enforcement. Never police being called on my place. Nothing like that. And so this is the thing. It is settled law that if you're a violent felon already, the state can limit your right to keep firearms. And, that makes some sense. But if you have a perfectly clean record, you're a law-abiding citizen, you're a peaceable citizen, and you're manufacturing weapons in the traditional way, meaning inside an American home, which is how we've always done it right since the revolution, then the state has no business asserting that you're a criminal. And so, yeah, that's where we are.
Well, hold on, because somebody out there who's new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would say, well, Dexter, did you fire the firearm?
Nope.
Somebody out there who's new,
never discharged.
Would say, Dexter, did you sell the firearm?
No, didn't sell and didn't even any intentions to sell, which the state of New York knows because they seized my computers, they seized my phone, and they subpoenaed my email records. So they knew that I wasn't talking about weapons or anything like that. They know that for a fact. They also know, or should know, that I was a member in good standing of my local gun range before I got raided. And therefore, I had passed a criminal background check before I got raided. So, yeah, the state knows all that.
But yet and still, you go to court on a gun charge, right? On a gun charge.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Second Amendment gives you the right to own firearms, correct?
That's correct. To keep them and together. Yes,
But in your trial, you were told that you could not use the Second Amendment in your case.
We were told that we couldn't even talk about it. In fact, what makes it so bad is my lawyer wasn't even allowed to bring up the fact that Mr. Taylor believes he had a right under the Second Amendment. You couldn't even bring that up. I took a stand in my own defense in my case, and when the prosecution asked me, "Did you have a permit for these weapons?" I said, "Yes. My permit is the Second Amendment." Objection immediately. They didn't like that answer. I didn't change the answer, but they didn't like that, and they had to strike it, what have you. When the prosecutor asked me, "Well, what was the date on your permit?" So, October 8th, year of our Lord, 1970. That's when I drew my first breath as a free American citizen. Objection! And they didn't like that either. So they just didn't want the jury hearing anything about the Second Amendment. And, I feel kind of way about that. It's one thing to say, we know that, for those of us who know that trial courts are not supposed to consider constitutionality. That is true. The trial court only considers, what is on paper and whether or not you violate the law as written. Okay, that's fair enough. But it's a different thing to say that in trial court, the defense can't even talk about constitutionality. That's very, very different. So, of course, the deck was stacked, which we knew it would be. It wasn't. There were really no surprises, except for how blatant some of the deck stacking was. We didn't have to be stacked against this. We knew, in short, that this was going to be a marathon and not a sprint. So, it is what it is. But yeah, we're continuing the fight because, again, at the end of the day, I know I didn't do anything wrong, and my family is on side with me because they know I didn't do anything of which my family should be ashamed. My daughter can hold her head up high because she knows her papa's in prison, but she knows I didn't do anything that she should be ashamed of. My neighbors all know what happened to me. They're all mad at the state of New York, not me. So it's just a process. The process is what it is. It's almost like to challenge these laws, you have to end up on the wrong side of them and work your way through the courts. So the DOJ getting involved would be a huge help because right away that would be a lot more eyeballs on this case, a lot more publicity, and we might be able to get some relief from the DOJ depending on what documents they file in this case. But certainly the additional visibility will be very good, not just for us, but for everyone in New York who's had their civil rights trampled on by the government of New York. So,
and when you say the DOJ, we're talking about Pam Bondi.
yes, sir. That's the Attorney General of the United States, and she has put together a task force for investigating violations of civil rights, specifically regarding the Second Amendment, violations of Second Amendment rights, which is awesome. I can't believe that's actually happening in my lifetime. Yeah, it is happening, and I thought when I heard about this task force being put together, I thought they were going to spend maybe a few months just looking at federal agencies and how they were violating the Second Amendment. But it turned out that they jumped right on California, which is admittedly the worst. And so that's enormously encouraging. We just want them not to forget about New York and not to forget about this case. So, yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's pretty much what we're dealing with a bunch of crooks. Basically, is what it comes down to be. And so we, as you can see, you're talking, like I say, a true political prisoner. If you've never known one or ran it, you hear people say that all the time. Oh, the guy's a political prisoner, and he really isn't. This is a political prisoner right here. He's been put in prison for something that he did not do, for crimes he did not commit, did not hurt anybody. Did they offer you a plea deal at one point in time, dear Dex?
They offered more than one plea deal. I rejected all of them. There was a formal plea deal for like 8 years. I rejected that, and there's another one for 5, and I think an informal one for 3. I rejected all of them. Absolutely. Because it's like I'm not going to admit to doing stuff. Well, first of all, if you plead down, you can't appeal. That's the first thing. And second, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I raised my daughter to be conservative like me. You know what I'm saying? I raised my daughter with a sense of gratitude for this country and what it means, and especially what it meant for people like us. We have an instrument for changing the government, peaceably, right? That we have, there's certain things that there's a body of law that prevents the state from interfering with us in certain ways, or at least supposed to prevent the state. I've raised my daughter to be aware of these things and to be grateful for these things. Now, and of course, that includes a big focus on the Second Amendment. Okay. So at the same time, I'm going to turn around and say that I did something wrong, admit that I did something wrong. I committed a crime, but by peaceably keeping firearms that I made in my house, no, I'm not going to do it. But no, no. It's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. So she understands what's going on, and she's proud of me for fighting, but she misses me, same as I miss her. And, but my family, thank God, it's okay. If my people outside are okay, then I'm okay. The thing we have to do is just stay on mission and keep fighting this fight. By the way, against these same Democrats, who are always talking about how they love us so much. We're always getting all weepy about oppression and white supremacy and all this and that, and the Republicans are going to put you in chains. Well, actually, you Democrats put me in chains.
There you go.
What happened?
There you go.
So, that's the thing. It's like, we all know that there's problems all across the political spectrum. So Rev, I don't like you. I don't carry water for any political party. But there's one party that at least notionally is interested in maintaining Second Amendment rights, and there's a party that wants to disarm us. Okay, so to me, the party that wants to disarm me is the worst of two evils. If you want to disarm me, if you're willing to put me in prison, right, for exercising my rights, then you're the worst.
But watch this.
You're definitely the worst.
Hey, watch. When you say that, you also got to say this here. The same party who wants to disarm you and want to keep you in prison is the same party that is slapping these criminals on the wrist and letting them and having a revolving door. So you're telling you understand what I'm saying? So you want to take away you want to take away my right to protect myself from the very people that you won't protect me from.
That's right. I couldn't say it for myself. Absolutely right. I mean, you got people running around. You got people jumping out and like beating down cops on camera, and no bail.
Yeah.
Okay, see your trial. Okay, my bail was almost $250,000. Right?
Right.
So I mean, go down. You got people chasing people down the street with deadly weapons, and just traipse into the police precinct, traipse right back out same day, no problem. You got shoplifters not being prosecutors; they steal less than $1,000 worth of goods. Well, all right, okay, But I mean, and this shows you, especially when it comes to violent crime, and their kind of lackadaisical attitude toward running on the tongue, acting on violent criminals. It just shows you that this case is not about public safety. It's just not. It's not about adherence to the law because they don't care about that. It's not about public safety because they don't care about that. In fact, the prosecutor in my case told my lawyer in writing that if Mr. Taylor had applied for a permit, he would have passed the good moral character test. So the prosecutor said.
The good moral...
In writing. Right? So okay, so don't take my word for it. Take the prosecutor's word for it. Dexter Taylor is a person of good moral character. And again, we already know that I have no record. We already know that I passed a criminal background check. We already know that I wasn't trafficking weapons, doing anything crazy. So this just shows you that, of course, it's political. Of course, it's political. Why else would they have switched out judges at the last minute and put in the wife of DA Gonzalez's top fundraiser? The Brooklyn DA Gonzalez. His top fundraiser is what that person's wife was switched in at the last minute to preside over my trial. I mean, come on, it's political.
A black woman.
I mean,
a black woman.
Yeah, it's a black woman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure. I want to make sure we put that in there because a lot of times people go, well, why do you have to bring up race? Why did it have to be about race? Because they made it about, okay, we're going to put this person on this case, so therefore there can never be anything said about the white guy put you in.
White guy, right?
You understand what I'm saying? That's why they did that. Because the Democrats are racist calculators. So I know people say, well, what do you mean by that? Because they calculate their racism. Okay.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? They sit there and add it up. So how racist can I be in this instant here? So let me add up the racism that's in this here and see if I go over, right? And make sure we don't go over the digits of being racist. That's right. That's how the
they got a spreadsheet.
They got a spreadsheet. There you go. Right?
I mean, no, but come on. That is Democrats for you. That's not Democrats. Let's be honest. So it's fine. Like I said, I'm not complaining because we knew going in we knew that the chances were better than a coin toss, right? That we were going to lose at the top court level. But we also knew that in terms of what the law says, and in terms of what again the Supreme Court has said in the Bruin decision, we knew that we were substantially in the right, right? Carrying weapons around, that's a different story, okay? Because, again, states can impose permitting laws, and they do. The New York State's permitting system is just an utter disaster. The permitting department in New York has been plagued by scandal and corruption for years. But that's a separate matter. That's carrying weapons around in public, okay? But none of my weapons ever left my house. So that's not an issue. Yes, the government does have the right to infringe on, let's say, the commerce in firearms. You have the right to keep firearms and to bear them. You don't have the right to sell them to whoever on a whim. That's true. But I didn't do any of that, so that's not an issue. The issue is that New York State believes that it might makes right. We don't care what the Constitution says. Excuse me. We don't care what the Supreme Court says. We're going to do our thing. Well, okay, we differ. That's all. And we'll the matter will be settled in court one way or another. So that's what we are.
That's how it should work. But
yes,
we know
yes,
we know better. We know better than that. Like I said,
yeah,
they got their slide on
okay,
there.
they got the slide rule.
They do, man. You know, when you think about it, right? The Democrats. Yeah. But no. The Democrats do it in they got geometry. That's how good. That's how good. that's how racist and how good they are at their racism, to the point that they do it in a because hey, Algebra 2 was as far as I went. After that, I was done, dude. I could not, like you. I'm sure you probably went way, but with the Democrats, they throw that geometry in there, and half of us can't see that racism that they throw in there. That's why half the black people are over there right now, because they can't see that racism. They can't do geometry.
Yeah,
we can do algebra. I can do algebra, but still today. But no.
Yeah,
sorry, not doing it. Not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats know that too. They know that they not,
yes, sir.
So they know how to pencil in their racism just enough that they toe the line, that they don't go over it, because if they do, they get called out, and the Lord knows what they don't want to be called is racist.
Yeah.
They do not want to be.
But again, this is. But again, what I'm most pointing out is that it's the same lefties, the same Democrats who are always talking to me about, Trump is a white supremacist, and he's emboldening white supremacists, and these racists are going to jump out, and they're going to go down, they're coming after you, right? But you want to disarm me. Yeah. I mean, just let me get that straight. Like, you think all these things, but you want to disarm me. So make it make sense. I mean, look, I'm still wondering where the feminists are. I was reading, my brother Jeff Charles just sent me this book. He sent me two books. One is Negroes and the Gun. It's the history of the black tradition in army, armed self-defense in the American South.
I've read that.
Yeah. That's a great one. I just finished reading that. And the other one is Overruled, The Human Toll of Too Much Law by Neil Gorsuch of Supreme Court fame. And but what you call in Negroes and the Gun, Nick Johnson points out that in Orlando, for example, this was before they went to a fully kind of a shall issue permitting posture. The Orlando PD started this program of like firearms training for women. They just, like, if you're a woman or in Atlanta, you go sign up that, and I guess they kind of fast track permits or whatever they did, but it was like they had this push to make more women proficient and safe in the use of firearms. And the incidence of rape dropped by something like close to 90%. Like the year after they did that, right? And the thing is, in most other states, the trend was in the opposite direction. So I'm wondering where the feminists are. Should the feminists be on a real, strong two-way footing? It would make sense.
I would think so too.
I think
right?
more women should travel armed. Absolutely. I think more women should travel armed. Absolutely. Somebody want to jump out and do something to you? Yeah. He gonna pay to find out what's in your purse. You know what I'm saying? Like 100%. You don't have to work for this. Yeah. But again, they're not going to do it because the Democratic Party is staunchly against the freedom to keep and bear arms, which again is a natural right. It's a human freedom. It adheres to people. and it is simply protected, not conferred. It's protected by the Second Amendment.
Well,
They
that's
should be
why.
all in on that, but the fact that they're not shows you a lot.
Yeah, well, that's why the Democrats don't deal with me here, because I'm you would think that because I'm black and I'm a reverend, I should be right up their alley. I should be like the top dog that they should be coming after, trying to get me. But all of a sudden, that firearm comes into play. Oh, but he's a black reverend that carries a firearm. He's a firearm. That firearm comes into play, and they're like, we can't mess with him. We can't mess with him because we know that he's not a blue-blooded Democrat. We know he's a conservative who believes in the Second Amendment. We know that he will fight for the Second Amendment. And we know that he would tell his parishioners that they have every right to carry a firearm, and we can't have that.
That's right.
We can't have Negroes like that around.
Nope. So, and by the way, this is. I mean, white liberals and progressives have a long history of doing that exact thing. Of opposing our right to keep and bear arms,
right?
And so it is what it is. But again, we just know. Look, it's all right. We know who we're dealing with,
that's
and
right.
So again, the fight is on. The fight is on. And I'm glad to be in. I'm not glad I'm in here, but I'm glad to be in this fight because this is a fight we're fighting.
Yeah, but I'm like you when you say that. When what you was talking about earlier, saying, they run around saying white supremacy this and white supremacy that, and just like you said, if there's so much
1 minute left.
If there's so much white supremacy out there, then why are they disarming us? So, but all right, Fred.
That's right.
We're gonna let you get out of here. Go ahead and take the last word on this one.
Everyone who cares about this case should follow me at Future Radio Cast on Twitter, X. And if you're introducing other people to this case, I have a link. I have a page on Linktree. My Linktree ID is Carbon_Mike. And thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Carl. And thanks to all my two-way friends out there, all my conservative friends out there. God bless you all. And I'll see you next time, bro. It's something to do with you, brother.
Sounds like a deal. You be good, and we're gonna make sure God keeps you in his hands, and that
yes, sir.
again, he gives us another week, and then we'll get back on you on,
Thank you
on
for
next
using
Sunday.
Securus. Goodbye.
All right, people. There you go. Dexter Taylor. Our night with Dexter Taylor has come to one more end here with everything. Hey, Carl. Let's see if Carl's still there. He's playing with his new.
Yes, sir.
Thought he was playing with his new baby. Oh, there he is. Hey, you want to close us out tonight?
Just a quick word. Thank you to everybody that came in and listened. Keep that's the case in mind. Don't get distracted by, what some people are saying out there, as far as black men being violent. Dexter is considered violent by the state of New York just simply by having firearms in his house that he built himself, which is a constitutionally protected right. So, don't allow people who are grifting off of race to distract you from the real enemy here. The real enemy is our United States government and state governments who are putting people like Dexter Taylor in prison for simply exercising their Second Amendment right. So therefore, continue to fight the good fight. Don't get distracted by these grifters. And let's continue to move forward as a country. That's all I have to say.
All right. Just want to say you've been cracking me up today with some of the tweets that you've been putting out there, with the tornado. I was cracking.
Hey, I gotta do the same thing that they're doing, since they want to blame everything on black people. I'm gonna blame everything on black people. So.
The house falling down, the structure of the house, that's the one I was just cracking up. The house falls down and it's black people's fault.
Yeah. But they say we destroy stuff, so let's have fun with that narrative.
Sounds like a deal. I appreciate you, man. Thanks, Carl, for all you do, man. I definitely appreciate you helping out.
No worries, man. Thank you. Appreciate you hosting the show tonight.
All right.
Next Sunday, we'll see you.
Sounds like a deal, bro. We appreciate you, man. You have a good one.
All right.
All righty, bye
You
now.
too, man.
Hey, fam, we appreciate each and every one of you coming and hanging out with us on tonight to give Dexter somebody to talk to, listen to a little bit. Like I said, we try to get Dexter on as much as we possibly can, especially on a Sunday, to give him an opportunity to clear his mind so he can talk to people and he's not just, hung out in behind bars the way he is. And like I said, to me, he's a true political prisoner. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And we're going to stay on this thing until somebody get a hold of him, somebody talk to him, somebody understand what's going on, that this man had been railroaded by a system that's just not fair. And when you start talking about the justice system and Dexter Taylor, I mean, this is firsthand, man. I mean, this is firsthand. And it just shocks me a little bit that we don't have enough black entertainers or black people or Al Sharpton's and things like that. But that we realize they can't do that because it has to do something with guns. And we know that when it comes to guns and Democrats, they like to try to control black people. So you're not going to get Al Sharpton. We're not going to get Jesse Jackson. We're not going to get Ben Crump or anybody like that taking his case or looking into his case. That just don't happen. But lo and behold, you let a white police officer do something, and they're the first one out chasing after that police car to make sure that they bring that police down versus bringing down a whole system that has railroaded a black man. I'll leave it at that, and I'll stick with exactly what I just said. This is the Democratic Party at its finest, and y'all are seeing the racism in the Democratic Party, how they choose to treat black people, and it's sad that the Republican Party, or let me say, the conservatives. Are not picking up on this thing and saying, you know what, we got to do better for everybody and being a part of everybody's lives instead of doing some of the things that they're out here doing on today. But anyway, y'all have a good one. We'll see you soon. I will be back at my regular time on Monday. I had to take Friday off. Hadn't been feeling too good this week, so I just did Monday and Wednesday, took Friday off, but I will be back on Monday. So if you always want to come and hang out for Rip It Up on Monday, I will definitely appreciate that. Y'all have a good night.